Hello there friends and welcome. For today's Pathfinder Enhanced Set Guide we have a Sohei Monk AEON. Sohei is the mounted monk archetype. What this means is you get a horse pet as early as level 1 which fully scales with you for all sorts of nice synergy, especially with mounted combat feats, while also being the most versatile of all the monk archetypes, because Soheis can apply their flurry of blows abilities for even more attacks per round with many different weapons, including polearms like Fauchards, so you can achieve the highest critical range possible together with reach and go even two-handed. We'll of course be going AEON, which is very thematic for a monk, probably the most of them all, and can provide a lot of powerful gameplay benefits. For example, the Aeon's Bane ability will let you achieve pretty much the ultimate dispelling potential in the game. The gazes are also great to provide many powerful party-wide benefits and even debuff the enemy at the same time. And if you're wondering about why our stats are so high, it's all because of the ultimate Aeon's mythic spell, Perfect Form. As a matter of fact, Aeon does have some pretty nice spells too, including abilities to make your entire party invulnerable to any physical damage. So without further ado, let us finally get into our Sohei Monk Aeon build. Alright, so the Sohei is actually one of the most stacked monk archetypes. Definitely my favorite one as well. For starters, you get a pet, full scaling by the way, right at level 1. You are limited to just the horse, but the horse is more than enough. Especially because you can ride it even at the beginning of the game, and your monk will also get a bonus to attack rolls against most enemies early on. Sohei is not just about having a pet, however, it also provides quite a lot of other unique features. First, you can select mounted combat feats as bonus feats. Second, they have the very unique Devoted Guardian feature, which grants them bonuses to initiative equal to half their class levels, pretty good. At level 20, you'll always roll a 20. Monastic Mount is also a very interesting feature for a pet class. As a free action, which are unlimited by the way, so you can activate this whenever you want, you can even activate it multiple times on the same round. But anyways, you'll grant your horse pet a bonus to hit points equal to twice your monk level for 1 hour per level of real time. Once again, because it is a free action, you can activate it even, let's say, after your horse gets hit to take it out of danger, so it's a very useful ability to have. Soheis even get the fighter special weapon training ability starting from level 6, but they are limited in the weapon groups they can select. Ideally, you want to go with polearms, because they are the best of these weapons here. Also, whenever you acquire weapon training into any of these groups, your Flurry of Blows ability will also start working with them. For example, if we get weapon training to polearms, we'll get the extra attacks from Flurry of Blows with all the weapons here, Bardiche, Fauchard and Glaive. So in a way, Soheis are probably the most versatile monks of them all. They aren't just limited to fists or the monk special weapons. And honestly, they still retain the best monk base features. They have a lot of bonus feats. Their only downside is way less fists damage, but like I said, it doesn't matter because we are built to use weapons. And they even start with martial weapons proficiency to compensate. So overall, a very stacked archetype. As far as race for this build, I'll be going with human, it's my preferred pick, but since at the end game you'll have one free feat, you can go with anything you want. It's just a matter of early game power. For background, well, the classic Street Urchin and Pickpocket for bonuses to initiative. We can achieve very high initiative as a Sohei, so we might as well stack it as high as we can. For ability scores, Strength is your main stat. 19 is what you want your character creation, then 14 Dexterity, 14 Constitution. Charisma can be easily dumped, the same for Intelligence. This way you can also start with 14 Wisdom. The leftover point can go anywhere you want. You can even dump both Intelligence and Charisma to 7 to start with 16 Wisdom or Constitution, although I don't think it's necessary. As far as skill points, Athletics because of our very high strength. Mobility because some of the mounted combat feats we'll be getting work based on this. For the last point, you can put it anywhere you want. I'll be going with Perception, as I think it fits an Aeon character. As for level 1 feats, the classic package for two-handed characters. Power Attack and Cleave. It is true that Cleave doesn't really work well with Flurry of Blows, but as I explained before, you'll only get to apply your Flurry of Blows to your true weapons once you get weapon training at level 6. Before, it would only work with feats and the monk weapons, which aren't really good for a Sohei, so ideally, you'll make up for the lack of the extra attack through Cleave. For the animal companion, we are limited to the horse. Either the black or the normal horse is fine, the black is just a palette swap. Speaking about the horse, for your bonus feat, go with mounted combat. This way, whenever our horse would be hitting combat once per round, we can attempt a mobility check, which is why we specialized into it, and if we pass it, the attack will miss. So we have a chance to negate one attack here. Also the monastic mount ability for temporary hit points, our horse will really be tanky. For deity, pick any that allows the AEON alignment, so lawful ones. I'll be going with Irory, as I think he's the most monk-themed deity of them all. Then any lawful alignment here, but lawful good lets you apply your charisma modifier to all your saving throws. As a human, every level and then you'll start with a bonus to your skill points, you can put it anywhere you want. Including, let's say, use magic device even if you already have someone covering perception, trickery and stealth. For level 2 as a bonus feat, Spirit at Charge. This can highly increase your damage. Whenever you charge, you'll deal double damage with melee weapons. Trust me, early game you'll be one-shotting enemies left and right with this, especially if you ambush them outside of battle so you can charge and still retain the ability to perform a cleave right after. For level 3, cleaving finish so we can potentially get 3 attacks right at level 3. I always say this, but it really doesn't get any better than that. Speaking about extra attacks, level 3 is also when monks get their first key power, which increases the number of attacks you can make by 1 whenever you activate it. At level 4, increase strength, which is also what you want to increase on all of the other levels. For level 5, pick either combat reflexes or outflank if you already have other high base attack bonus characters that can pick it so early, like let's say Scylla. Any style strike can work here. For level 6, you can pick any key power here, I would just go for True Strike. Most of them are very disappointing. Then as a bonus feat, combat reflexes. Then for weapon training, Polearms. So we can now get extra Fauchards and glaive attacks with our Flurry of Blows ability. And speaking about Fauchards, this is when I would pick the proficiency for them at level 7. So exotic proficiency, Fauchard. Fauchards are the reach weapon with the highest critical range, so they're overall the best of them. If you prefer, you can also pick this at level 5 and delay outflank for 7, as most characters can only get outflank right here. For another key power, Wholeness of Body can provide some healing, so you might as well go with it. For level 9, improved critical into Fauchards, so now we have 15 to 20 critical chance. Any other style like defensive spin. For another key power, anything goes. I would just go for restoration. Abundant step isn't as useful because you'll be riding our horse anyways. As for a bonus feat, improved initiative to stack our initiative even higher. Now something else you can do is delay improved critical Fauchard for 10, since you can pick it for free here. Ignore improved initiative, and at 9 go for the perfect strike monk feat instead, which can help you hit enemies a lot. It's just that I don't think it's needed so early for this build, because we have a lot of extra bonuses to AB anyways. For level 11, well, I would get started into the Shattered Defenses package now so we can have it by level 15. I don't think lunge is as needed for this character because you'll be riding our horse anyways. And we can be enlarged while riding an enlarged horse for even higher reach, plus the fact Fauchards are reach weapons too and reach stacks. So weapon focus Fauchard. For 12, any key power here really, like Scorching Ray. At 12 and 18 you'll get another weapon training. It just kinda doesn't matter because you'll just be using Polearms anyways. So you can pick anything you want. Then resume progression into Polearms. Now from level 13 onwards, you can actually multiclass your Sohei Monk. I just don't think it's needed. But some choices are Cavalier and Gendarme, so you keep your horse's progression to full and still get some extra bonus feats. There's always Ranger and Demon Slayer, and something like 3 levels into Mutation Warrior 2. Just remember, for these classes that don't grant pets, you'll have to pick the Boon Companion feat. I do think Sohei is very solid, so I'll be keeping it pure. For level 13, Dazzling Display. Then for a key power, Diamond Soul, because this one at least is a passive and grants you spell resistance. For the Monk bonus feat, Improved Blind Fight, to remove any concealment issues. For level 15, Shatter Defenses at last. You can also delay this for 17 and pick the Perfect Strike feat at 11, it's just a matter of preference. For your key power at 16, Cold Ice Strike, because if anything it's cast as a swift action, and at this point you can already convert the cold damage into irresistible anyways, through the Bane of Spirit Ring. For level 17, this is when I would go for Perfect Strike, but like I said, you can pick it earlier if you prefer. At this point we are close to chapter 5 where enemies have the highest AC, so this can help. Although on the other hand we also have the highest bonuses and buffs. Otherwise go with Lunge now and delay Perfect Strike for 19. For 18 as a key power, anything. Well, you might as well pick Indomitable Mount here, since we have a free feat anyways. Any other weapon training, and Polearms again. For level 19, Lunge. Even if you already have Reach, it can help, it's just not as needed for other builds that, well, don't have Reach. Any other key power at 20. Alright, and let us cover Mythic Progression for our Sohei Monk AEON. For the first ascension, I wouldn't bother with Close to the Abyss, because since we have a Reach weapon, the Gore attack doesn't really work that well with it. I would just go for Close to the Heavens, as the healing ability this provides you for the early and some of the mid game can be very useful. But there's also a bit of fun and Instrument of Freedom if you want to buff allies with holy damage, although it has pretty low duration. Close to the Heavens has great scaling healing and a lot of uses per day. For your first mythic ability, I suppose if you were non-fair, you might consider Last Stand. It's just that we have our horse pet, we can ride it as early as level 1, and unless the horse dies, your character will never be in any danger. Especially since Sohei can provide even extra tanking to the horse. So I would just go for Leading Strike, which is amazing for mounted characters, as you alternate your attacks with your horse, making it super easy to proc. For Mythic level 2, the classic Mythic Power attack for even higher damage, as at this point we can already equip our Fauchards while benefiting from Monk's Flurry of Blows. For Mythic 3, Ever Ready is the must-have, especially for AEONs because they can increase this by double the amount when you combine it with one of the Enforcing Gazes, so our attacks of opportunity will have plus 20 to the attack rolls and damage. It really is that good. Speaking about gazes, ideally you would go for attack first. Usually attack is more important than damage because, well, you have to hit the enemy first. This applies to all of your allies, so it's great, and can even reduce the enemy's own attack rolls, which provides more tanking to the horse and any other tanking character you have. For the AEON spells you get to pick, because we are not a spellcasting class, go with buffs, especially self buffs like Divine Favor and True Strike. For Mythic level 4, Mythic Critical and Fauchard, as always, because we have very high critical range. For your second gaze, attacks of opportunity, but remember that as an AEON you can only apply 2 gazes at once, starting from Mythic 6, so chances are you'll just be going for attack until then. For Mythic 5, because we have the Spirited Charge ability, if you have a SKALD to provide pounce to your party so you can charge in full attack, Mythic Charge for even more OP charge damage. Otherwise, go with Mythical Beast instead to already empower your horse to the max. The other gazes can be anything until around Mythic 8, because you'll just be using attack and attacks of opportunity anyways. For Mythic 6, Mythic Improved Initiative. To put it simply, this character probably has the highest initiative of them all, when you consider your capstone ability later on. At Mythic 6, remember to pick the Echolocation spell, and also most importantly Divine Power. For Mythic 7, since I picked Mythic Charge before, this is when I would go for Mythical Beast. Otherwise, you can even go for something like Always a Chance now. For Mythic 8, well, you can go for Mythic Weapon Focus, but it's just a +1 to AB for us. I would rather pick extra Mythic ability and Always a Chance so we won't fail on run rolls, which is very annoying. At Mythic 8, you can also pick the unique Temporal Jump Gaze. It can be useful, it's just that I'd much rather just keep attack and attacks of opportunity. As for Mythic 9, just a classic Last Stand. For Mythic 10, you can really pick anything you want, and as far as your gazes, since now you get a third one at the same time, go with attacks, attacks of opportunity, and damage, or replace damage for Temporal Jump. Alright, now let us talk about gear for our Sohei Monk AEON. For the amulet, the classic Valexias, we want the highest strength possible, especially because the higher your primary stat, the higher your other stats will become, through the perfect form ultimate AEON spell. Armor, well, if you want to benefit from the monk's bonus to AC from wisdom, you cannot wear any armor at all, not even Haramaki's. For robes and shirts, ideally Wandering Command as usual, ultimately, because the extra boost to attacks of opportunity really matters for this build. After all, we already get up to +10 applied twice, so +20, from both the Ever Ready and the attack of opportunity gaze. As far as belts, at first belts that increase strength, later you can choose between strength or dexterity, but eventually just all of them through physical perfection belts. Of course, since we have high critical range from Fauchards, you can also go for the Mangling Frenzy belt if you have someone to cast Rage on you like a SKALD ally. For gloves, because Soheis get weapon training, we want gloves of dueling to increase it by a further +2. Boots don't matter that much, I suppose you can always go for one next sacrifice if you want more AC. I would just get boots of Stampede. 4 headbands, at first ones that increase wisdom, eventually just a hat of the bitter end as usual for even higher bonuses to AB, which you then combine with the broken trickster glasses to increase your wisdom and charisma. 4 cloaks, at first cloaks of resistance, but ultimately the AEON cloak because it's by far the best mythic variant of the cloaks possible. 4 rings, the classic triumphant advance for as high morale bonus as possible to AB and damage. And since we are two-handing, imminent demise for the stacking competence boost to attack rolls. For bracers, I just went with the bracers of armor here since we can't really wear any armor. But since you can just rely on your horse's AC to tank, you don't necessarily need it. It's just that there aren't any other important bracers outside of a Brotom slot late game. Now let's get into weapons and quick slots. For this build I decided to go with Fauchards as they are the reach weapon with the highest critical range. The best one overall is Finian, the last upgrade of Finian that is. The brilliant energy property alone is huge. It lets you ignore a lot of armor class from enemies, especially the toughest ones, including bosses even on unfair. For example, the desolating Galus Stormcaller here, a very late game enemy, will have its AC reduced by 8 whole points with this. Heartseeker is great too to ignore concealment, and for the other stuff you can just cast spell buffs, and I already have a guide for that on how to enchant your weapons, so that it becomes very powerful, like Evolved Ciderbane and Holy. But earlier you can also go for the Mighty Blow of Good, it already has Evolved Ciderbane, so you don't need to bother casting Crusader's Edge on it, and even grants you a bonus to damage so long as you are good aligned. So Lawful Good really is the way to go, especially for increasing your saving throws. There's always the earlier version of Finian too for the beginning of the game. But for chapter 1, ideally you just want to go with Glaives. Now I know some people also like the Bearer of Sorrow, which can increase your attacks per round. Every 5th hit you get an extra attack. It's just that honestly, the Vicious property to me is extremely annoying, because it means your character will always be getting hit whenever you strike the enemy, and I don't like that. We don't have ways of easily overcoming that, unless you were a Lich. For Aura Aeon, well, I suppose you could always just heal your character after battle, but I find it a bit annoying. As far as quick slots, the usual Jarsigax for extra damage on hit, the Signet to increase any skill of choice, extend Meta Magic Rods for some of the powerful Aeon buffs, up to level 6, the Lucky Dice just for minor boosts. Of course you can also use Scrolls from other classes, ideally Eagle Soul for the very nice +4 bonus to Strength that you can't get anywhere else. The duration isn't that high, it's going to be around 1 minute from a scroll, but well, 1 minute is more than enough for the bosses and the tough encounters. Crafting it however can be a bit annoying because you have to use a divine character, but you can just have a mercenary do it for you. Well, alright friends, so this was it from my Sohei Monk AEON guide. If you found it useful, as always please remember to like, subscribe and also consider becoming a channel member. I truly appreciate your support. Thank you for watching and see you next time friends.